A number of right-wing accounts with a significant number of followers in the United States have shared a series of unfounded claims suggesting that the conflict in Ukraine is an elaborate hoax, fabricated completely by Western governments and media outlets. There are accounts that were previously suspended by Twitter, but have since been reinstated following Elon Musk's acquisition of the platform that are among those who are responsible for sharing the most viral, unfounded claims. One of the false claims that is being spread on Twitter and other social media platforms is that the war is a complete lie. Some right-wing social media accounts in the United States are trying to justify this claim by claiming that there are no images and recordings from. This is one of the false claims that is being spread on Twitter and other social media platforms in the post that is currently going viral. A political commentator asserts that there is no picture from the front and that the smell of lies spreads from this location. Another person who is famous on Twitter and is close to 1.5 million followers has written that there has been no news or imagery coming from. In addition, Michael Flynn, who served as the National Security Advisor for the United States of America under the Trump administration, shared this tweet. Flynn continued by saying, "I'll take any bets with anyone who claims this isn't true," and he was willing to do so. Images of the building hit by a missile went. Surprisingly, the conflict in Ukraine is being extensively covered and reported on by the mainstream media in the West. Broadcasters all over the world have been reporting extensively from the front lines of the conflict in Ukraine, and they have been exercising strict editorial control over reports and statements that are contradictory or otherwise dubbed. In addition, the national governments and international organizations of various countries all over the globe supply information that substantiates the existence of war. Since the beginning of the conflict, social media platforms have been inundated with thousands of videos discussing the conflict and other aspects of the war. A significant number of these videos have been investigated for authenticity by journalists. On the second day of Russia's occupation of Ukraine, a photo that was widely circulated showed a high-rise apartment building in Kiev that had been struck by a missile. Reporters traveled to the location and wrote in-depth accounts of their experiences there. Images of the structure after it was repaired and partially renovated have recently spread like wildfire across various social media platforms. Moving corpse. It was claimed that there was never a missile that hit this building and that the entire war was actually a fabrication because it was impossible to repair the building while it was in a state of war. This is because it was impossible to repair the building while it was in a state of war. This anti-vaccine assertion was shared by a number of people, including one right-wing podcaster who had his account suspended by Twitter in the past, but had it reinstated more. Despite this, Kiev has not been on the front lines of the conflict since March of 2022, and the only significant threats it faces are occasional and repeated missile strikes from Russia. In March, Russian forces started pulling back from the city and the surrounding area in order to concentrate on eastern Ukraine. The renovation of the building in question started in May of the previous year and throughout the summer and fall. The Ukrainian media reported on the progress of the project, providing specifics as well as photographs during the time that a journalist in Ukraine was delivering the news in front of rows of wrapped bodies. The video that purports to show someone moving the bodies in the rear of the room has been viewed millions of times in the last few days. By presenting this video evidence, it was asserted that live individuals posed inside the shrouds in order to lend credence to the narrative that the West has constructed regarding the conflict in Ukraine. In one of the posts it was written, "Don't move, you're gone." A large number of internet celebrities on the right wing reposted this video on social media platforms like Facebook. The videos were used in completely different places. The truth is quite different from that. This video was shot in Vienna, Austria in early February of the previous year during a demonstration about the climate catastrophe. This was before the conflict in Ukraine broke. To bring attention to the threat that carbon emissions pose to human life, activists dressed in shrouds and pretended to be deceased while laying on the ground. This video was used as fake news on a different topic, and it was also brought up as evidence for the claims that no one actually perished from COVID-19. It was completely fake because it was not shot in Ukraine, and it was also brought up as evidence for those claims. Photos in a video that went viral reportedly accidentally emerged as a stuntman for Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine. Zelensky stunt double. The claim that Zelensky had a secret double that accidentally appeared in an image captured by Polish television, donning the same outfit as the president, has been spread to millions. The same man can be seen lurking in the shadows of multiple photographs taken during President Joseph Biden's trip to Kiev a week ago, as shown in other posts. On the other hand, Maxim Dennett, who serves as Zelensky's protection, is the one who stands out most clearly in these pictures. According to Reuters, Dennett has been in charge of Zelensky's security detail since 2019. If one conducts a search on the internet, one will find photographs of Dennett wearing a variety of clothes while he is present in the same scene as the president. These photographs were taken in a variety of settings. Bachman is in trouble according to statements made by Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky. The situation in the city of Bachman, which is located on the eastern front line, is getting more and more chilling. Since over 6 months ago, Russian troops have been making repeated attempts to take the city. Mr. Zelensky made the following statement: "The adversary is continually destroying everything that can be used to safeguard our positions." The comments made by the leader of Ukraine came at the same time that U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen was in Kiev on Monday, where she issued a warning to China about the dangers of equipping. Since Russia invaded Ukraine just over a year ago, some of the bloodiest battling that has taken place since then has taken place in Bakhmut, which is located in the Donetsk region of Ukraine. A portion of this region is currently controlled by Russia and its separatist allies. The situation is very fraught with. In recent weeks, Russian forces have increased their efforts to capture the industrial city, and as a result, their troops have been gaining territory. Denis Putin, the self-proclaimed commander of the Donetsk People's Republic, stated that practically all roads leading into the city were under Russian fire control. In addition, Colonel General Alexander Seki, who was in charge of Ukraine's ground troops, stated that the situation around Bakhmut was extremely. According to General Seki, despite significant casualties, the enemy threw in the most prepared assault units of Wagner, which are attempting to break through the defenses of our troops and encircle the city. Despite significant losses, in his nightly address, President Zelensky discussed the situation and said that Russia's renewed onslaught was making it extremely difficult to establish a foothold in Bakhmut and to guarantee the cities. He added that these two objectives were facing significant difficulties. Sanctions will have a debilitating effect on Russia. He expressed his deep appreciation to each and every individual who is valiantly holding the area. The defense of the complete territory of our country against Russian terror was another one of President Zelensky's priorities, and he reiterated his call for the deployment of cutting-edge military air. Janet Yellen made an unannounced visit to Kiev on Monday, where she made the announcement that Ukraine will receive an additional £1.25 billion in economic and fiscal assistance. Ms. Yellen echoed the message that former President Joe Biden delivered during his own visit to Kiev the previous week, namely that the United States of America would remain steadfast in its support of Ukraine for as long as it took for the country to emerge victorious from the conflict. Yellen added during an interview with CNN that despite the fact that the massive sanctions imposed on Russia by Western powers had not yet caused its economy to collapse, she anticipated that it would become weaker over the course of time. China is determined to support Russia. She also stated that Russia's ability to replenish military equipment that was destroyed in attacks on Ukraine was gradually jeopardized, and she added that any move by China to supply such weaponry to Russia would lead to severe consequences. Both of these statements were made in reference to Russia's ability to replace equipment that was destroyed in attacks on. She said, "We have been extremely clear that we will not tolerate systematic violations by any country of the sanctions that we have put into place that are intended to deprive Russia of access to military equipment to wage this war. We have been extremely clear that we will not tolerate systematic violations by any country. And we have been very explicit with the Chinese government and have made clear to Chinese companies and financial institutions that the repercussions of violating those sanctions would be very severe." The statement reads, "The previous week, United States Secretary of State Anthony Blinken stated that China was contemplating providing Russia with weapons and ammunition. The allegation was vehemently refuted by Beijing. Many people took the recent meeting between the top diplomat for China, Wang Yi, and the President of Russia, Vladimir Putin, which took place in Moscow last week, to be an indication of China's increasingly close relations with Russia and the leader of Belarus, Alexander Lukashenko, who is a reliable ally of Mr. Putin's, is going to start a 3-day visit of China tomorrow. It is anticipated that he will have a meeting with President Xi Jinping while he is. Tensions rise in Moldova. Wizz Air has announced that beginning on March 14th, it will stop all of its flights to the capital city of Moldova, Chisinau, due to safety concerns regarding the country's airspace. Earlier this month, a Russian projectile was launched over the territory of the Republic of Moldova. The authority in charge of civil aviation in Moldova described the decision made by the carrier as unexpected and disappointing. The conflict in Ukraine has had a significant impact on the economy of Moldova, which is already one of the most impoverished in Europe. According to a statement made by the airline, safety of the passengers and staff remains Wizz Air's number one. Has made the difficult but responsible decision to suspend all flights to Chisinau beginning on March 14th as a result of the recent events that have taken place in Moldova and the elevated, but not immediate, danger that exists in the airspace over the country. The Civil Aviation Authority of Moldova stated on the 14th of February that the airline had requested approval for its summer flight schedule, and the authority determined that flights in the national airspace can be carried out securely by following a number of procedures. The authority has stated that it will take all necessary actions in order to entice additional low-cost airlines to operate out of Chisinau Airport as quickly as possible, and to bring back Wizz as a replacement for their service to Chisinau. Wizz has announced that they will be increasing the number of flights departing from all over Europe to the city of Iași in eastern Romania. Iași is located close to the boundary with Moldova. The relationship between Moscow and the administration of Moldova has become more tense recently. Last summer, Moldova became a candidate for participation in the European. The country is sandwiched between Romania and Ukraine. Alleged attempts at a coup in Moldova. The country has struggled to cope with an influx of refugees from Ukraine, as well as tensions with Transnistria, a breakaway pro-Moscow territory, where approximately 1,500 Russian soldiers are stationed. The population of the country is approximately 3 million. At the beginning of this month, the president of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, stated that the intelligence service of Kiev had discovered a Russian plot to eliminate Moldova. And the president of Moldova, Maya Sandu, has accused Russia of hatching a plan to overthrow her government with the assistance of foreign saboteurs from Russia, Serbia, Belarus, and, for example, she stated that their objective would be to launch attacks on government facilities, take hostages, and then incite protests in order to ask the current government and install one that is at the service of Russia. In the meantime, the Russian Ministry of Defense has asserted, without providing any evidence to support their claim, that Ukrainian saboteurs dressed as Russian troops will strike from Transnistria in order to provide a pretext for an invasion by. Will Belarus declare war on Ukraine? Dissidents in Belarus who supported Ukraine were responsible for bringing down Putin's spy aircraft. The Russian airfield in Belarus was attacked by 2 unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs. The statements that were made indicate that the AAC Beryva 50U aircraft sustained severe damage, with the front and middle sections of the aircraft, electronic systems, and radar antennas being struck at the military base in Mali, where such aircraft were brought as part of Putin's process of consolidating his troops in close proximity to Ukraine. There have reportedly been several explosions of a very large. The assault also caused damage to a snowplow and a military transport plane used by the Russian military. A bag containing equipment for controlling a drone was purportedly discovered by Belarusian and security forces close to the location of the explosions. The aircraft, which carried a fiberglass dome with a diameter of more than 10 meters and housed the rotating antenna of the Shemel radar system, was used by Putin's Air Force to locate targets in Ukraine that were intended to be. TAS was informed by a source working in the defense industry that Putin's military organization really did use the A-50U to carry out special operations missions. Both the Russian and Belarusian departments of defense have remained silent regarding the explosion. These were drones, according to Alexander Azarov, director of the BPO Union of Belarusian Partisans, who was speaking to B. Those Belarusians who were a part of the Peramo Victory for Belarus scheme were the ones who participated in the operation. They are not in danger. While they are away, all gone, the security services of Belarus can keep searching for them. But it will be like looking for a needle in a haystack, according to a statement made by one of the locals. Half of Mai has been cordoned. Numerous military can be seen in almost every location. There are 5 military vehicles equipped with machine weapons that we saw. They are checking people's bags and luggage and stopping all the cars and minibuses that pass through there. According to reports, the Awa airplane that was lost had the registration number RF 500-608 and had arrived in Belarus on January. There are only 6 modernized A-50U airplanes in Russia's arsenal, each with a crew of 19, and each is capable of tracking 60 targets at the same time. Belarusian opposition leaders Svetlana Tizha, who is currently living in exile, made the following statement: "I am proud of all Belarusians who continue to resist Russia's hybrid invasion of Belarus and battle for Ukraine's freedom." Following the attack, it became plausible to consider the possibility that Belarus would declare war on Ukraine. It is anticipated that Belarus will declare war on Ukraine.